Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here to give you a bit of a recap for the story of solo leveling before we get started with solo leveling Ragnarok. We start out this story with our main character, Sung Jin-woo, who is also known as the weakest hunter in existence, going into this dungeon with his fellow hunters in this world where hunters are essentially people who have gained magical powers and are capable of being stronger than your average human. They go inside of this dungeon, and everything seems normal until they come across a new door inside of this dungeon, also known as gates, where they find themselves trapped and stuck in a life or death situation where more than half of their crew are killed off inside of this room. When people are dying left and right, Jin decides to stay behind so that all of the people he knows, including those close to him, such as Jui and Mr. Song, they go and they leave Jin behind, where Jin apparently dies. However, Jin wakes up to find that not only is he completely fine, but he also discovers that he has become a player, which comes into play a lot later on. And he gets questioned by the committee for the Hunters Association, and they don't see anything abnormal about him. They even question whether he's he's undergone a secondary awakening, which is something that is possible to happen for hunters. Afterwards, Jin starts getting notifications as if he's in a video game that require him to do certain exercises and fulfill certain requests in order for him to get stronger. And he notices that over time, the more he keeps leveling up, he gets stronger, far stronger than any other individual. Time passes and Jin goes through an insurmountable amount of danger and missions and situations where his power is tested, and yet he continues to prevail over every single situation, growing stronger and stronger. He comes across another dungeon that allows him to gain even more power and even gain a new class, which allows him to become basically a necromancer. And he gains one of his very first shadow soldiers, Igris. And he continues to progress and grow stronger and gain more soldiers and become even more powerful with every situation he finds himself in. Over the course of him gaining strength, he also discovers a recipe for this item called the Holy Elixir of Life, which will allow him to fully heal his mother, which is the whole reason of why he's a hunter in the first place. His mother fell underneath this eternal sleep that affects people who are also affected by the magic in the world. People can fall underneath this eternal coma. So Jin discovers the recipe that will allow him to bring his mother back from this coma and allow her to, live with the family again. And as Jin continues to progress through the world, he gains new allies and new friends such as Jin-Oh, and later gains the attention of one called Cha Hei-in, who is from a completely different section of the Hunters Association, being in an entirely different guild all on her own. With some other people she's basically in a separate guild, but she sort of pays attention to Jin as Jin continues to grow even more powerful, go into even more dangerous dungeons to experience that power and experience these higher level locations for himself. Along the way, however, Jin gained the attention of one of the national level hunters of the world called Hwang Dong-soo. Due to Jin killing Hwang Dong-soo's older brother Hwang Dong-sook earlier on, Hwang Dong-soo made it his life's mission to kill Jin and anyone affiliated with him for the death of his brother. Jin later finds himself affiliated with many national level hunters, including one named Thomas Andre. Unfortunately, Thomas Andre is the guild master over Hwang Dong-soo, which made Hwang Dong-sook going after Jin a complicated matter. More issues arise, including the kidnapping of Jin-Oh by Hwang Dong-sook's men in order to draw out Jin, where Jin proceeds to hand Hwang Dong-soo his behind to the point where Thomas Andre had to jump in order to keep Jin from killing him. Unfortunately for Thomas Andre, though, Jin proves to be far more powerful than the #1 national hunter of the world, and almost kills Thomas Andre, with Jin not even breaking a sweat. And mind you, this is all happening before, and this is all happening after Jin went to Jeju Island, which is an island where many hunters lost their lives in order to keep these giant, man-eating ants and creatures from getting out of the island that brought ruin to the entire island, with them having no way of getting off until they started to evolve. Jin goes to this island, and he basically takes care of the entire island himself, and also gains a brand new soldier in the process by the name of Beru, who was pretty much the Jeju Island equivalent of their most powerful ant warrior. Jin defeats this creature and names him Beru as a new soldier, and Beru becomes basically the biggest fanboy of Jin after that point once he becomes a Shadow Soldier. All of this happened before the whole altercation with Thomas Andre. After the events of Thomas Andre, however, Jin basically spares Thomas Andre and the rest of his guild because Jin is not a cold, heartless killer. Despite all the power that Jin has, he's still reasonable and humble enough to understand that he's not a god, but also you shouldn't mess with him at all. More situations arise where Jin's sister is threatened by a sudden gate appearing in her high school, a giant S-rank gate appears over Japan, and it pretty much threatens the lives of everyone there. Then we learn that there are individuals called monarchs, which essentially Jin draws a power from one of these monarchs, who happens to be the most powerful monarch in existence. These monarchs have come in order to destroy the world and also the people who happen to be the vessels for the rulers. I'm paraphrasing, just work with me here. And these monarchs go after so many individuals who happen to be the vessels for these rulers until they run afoul of Jin. And Jin is apparently seemingly killed in this instance, until Jin realizes just where his power comes from, and it comes from an individual known as Ashbourne, being formerly the most loyal of the creator, basically the creator of the universe. He essentially was his most loyal follower and biggest devotee, until the rest of the rulers decided to rebel against this absolute being. And Ashbourne was essentially the only one to stand by his side and try and defend him. Of course, he is killed because of his devotion, and unknowing to both himself and to the rest of the rulers, the absolute being implanted a power inside of Ashbourne that allowed him to become the absolute most powerful individual in existence, essentially becoming the very first necromancer, with him building an army to such a degree that barely anyone could stand against him, killing not one but two monarchs in the process. And over the course of history, Ashbourne was looking for a vessel in order to house his power so he could finally bring down the monarchs, and he found that Jin just happened to be the perfect person to be his new vessel, seeing as how Jin, at the time, was seen as the weakest hunter and yet faced death without a second thought. Ashbourne decided to allow Jin to be the individual that could hold his power, which is where the player system came in, where he could level up in order for Jin's body to become more and more accustomed to wielding the power of the most powerful monarch, the Shadow Monarch. After Jin discovers the true essence of his power and accesses all of it, Jin reaches a level of power that we have never seen, being able to easily handle every single monarch he goes up against, from the Beast Monarch to the Elvish Ice Monarch, and just easily kills them, with Beru taking out the Insect Monarch, or Plague Monarch, I forget her name, with him basically becoming so powerful that absolutely no one can stand against him, except for the final monarch, Antares, who is currently the strongest monarch and the king of dragons, the monarch of destruction. After all is said and done, it is Jin versus Antares who faced off against each other, with Jin and Antares using the absolute peak of their power to where no one can really interject in any way because this is a fight between cosmic level beings, and Jin wins in the end. However, seeing how much destruction was caused by the monarchs, Jin uses something called the Cup of Reincarnation, which allows him to reset the world and make it a world devoid of magic so that any individual who has lost their lives or were affected by magic negatively in any way, they are given brand new lives. And this allows Jin to not only keep his power, but also prosper in life without anyone's life being in danger because of the magic and gates that came with it. And Jin decides to stay in this new world after having basically killed off every single monarch before they could even step foot into the real world. He spent all of his time inside of the world of the monarchs, killing every last one of them, just effortlessly. And then decides to go back to when he was a kid to live out his life without any obstruction whatsoever. Being able to spend time with his entire family, being able to meet Cha Hae-in again and not worried about these world-ending events with the monarchs and the gates, and thus grow up to live a very fulfilled life, and also have a family with Cha Hae-in, and also help give birth to a son. We'll bring a son into this world. I know this is a weird paraphrase, but this is the best thing I could come to mind because otherwise it would have taken me a lot longer for me to do this bit of a recap. But long story short, world's weakest hunter gains power that allows him to become one of, if not the most powerful person in existence. And live a life of not only fulfillment, but also humility, because with all this power, Jin never changes, and he still remains the most humble and most honorable person across the entire story. So that's, and with so much adventures in between, it would really take me a long time for me to just explain everything to all of you, because there's a ton of detail, not just from the webcomic, but from the light novel as well. All I know is, with the adventures of Solo Leveling the first go-around, I'm immensely excited to start reading Solo Leveling Ragnarok for all of you. I know this was a weird paraphrasing and a weird recap for me to go through for Solo Leveling, but this is pretty much the best way I could do, best way I could know how to do right before the newest chapter drops later today. So all I can say to you is, this has been my recap of Solo Leveling. I know. It could have been better. I know it was short notice. It was short notice because I had eaten breakfast. I had just went to eat breakfast with my dad, and I did some other things as well. But this has been my recap of Solo Leveling. Yes, there are some parts missing, but listing out everything would make this video so much longer than it already is. All I can say is, Solo Leveling was amazing, but I feel Solo Leveling Ragnarok is going to be even better. All I can say to you is, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later peoples, and arise.